We are live with Kenneth Johnson, executive recruiter extraordinaire. Welcome to the show, Kenneth.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here, Jack.
Hey, so let's just jump into it. So you're an executive recruiter, and I love talking with other recruiters because that's what I do. So kind of, it's fun to kind of share notes, war stories. So what do you specialize in? Like, what's your niche?
Wow, that's a great question. So we brand it as our niche is diversity. So any company that's committed to adding diverse talent, specifically underrepresented groups, Black talent, we're 100% in. We believe that if the position description is aligned and we can kind of work that through, we're traditional recruiters. We'll find the talent. We just need an opportunity. So yeah, so our niche is diversity.
And so by that, what happens? So that you'll have a client or you'll solicit a client. They say, hey, we need more of, fill in the blank, a certain type of, background. And when you say diversity, like, what does that include? I'd imagine it's kind of a whole array of different people, right?
So what happened is initially, I think that's kind of how it was set up, right? But we started seeing that when organizations came to us or when we were soliciting business from organizations doing our business development efforts, they typically wanted Black and brown talent from us.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some intersectionality, right? You're going to have veterans and you're going to have members from the LGBTQ communities and people living with disabilities. So there's intersectionality. But typically when people come to us, they're looking for Black and brown talent, and we're comfortable and happy to fill that role and be a solution provider.
And if you're able to talk about, like, what kind of clients, what kind of companies, what types of jobs do you recruit for?
Man, we've worked with some really amazing companies, big and small. So I guess some examples would be my first paid client was JPMorgan, right? This is before they were JPMorgan Chase. So JPMorgan, the Vanguard Group, Pepsi, Tiffany Company, Join for Social Justice, a very small social justice organization, Jewish social justice organization based out of Boston. Durst, we're working with Tarte Cosmetics right now. So we've had some amazing clients. We continue to partner with people like the National Urban League and the New York Urban League to support their efforts wherever needed. So it's been a good run.
So that's pretty good roster of clients, some top tier, interesting, right? And
I think so.
And how is it, do they look for you at all different levels, or do you specialize in, accounting, or how does that work?
Yeah, so Jack, so you understand how it goes because you've been in talent acquisition and recruitment for quite some time. So typically when they bring us on, it's for, a select role, right?
Right.
So it could be an accounting, or it could be a marketing role, or director of communications or something like that. And we over deliver. So we over deliver, and that allows us to get into the conversation for other opportunities internally, because if one hiring manager has had success with you, other hiring managers are going to go to them and say, hey, listen, where'd you find Joe? Mm-hmm. And we found him when we were working with East Coast executives. Hey, can you make the introduction? Sure, I can. And then, that might allow us to find our way over to IT or another department.
So yeah, because like I have a niche, and a lot of times recruiters will have like a niche where they just will focus in a certain, like mine is like compliance, legal, risk. So, but what yours is a little different, is that you would hire across the board but it's just diversity. So it's diversity, but within diversity, it's a bigger niche, because now it could be IT to accounting to software engineers, whatever their needs are.
Exactly. We don't do a ton of IT work. And some of that probably is, it's the chicken and the egg, right? So there's some extreme challenges in information technology as it relates to diverse talent, right? So we just hadn't received a lot of opportunities there. I think we're extremely successful when we do.
All right. Wait, I didn't mean to interrupt. We got to work on that, because that's a big area. That's big ticket items. These folks, they're making 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800,000 a year. So, dude, we gotta find a way to break into that.
We want to be part of that conversation. Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Because you know what? That's something interesting. I wonder. I co-host the Blind Ambition podcast, right? And it focuses on this platform Blind where it's all techies, and they make, like I said, they make a lot of money. So maybe that's the next thing, Kenneth, where you kind of get into that space, like Meta,
Yeah,
Apple, Amazon, all those shops. We're
yeah,
talking to the audience. You're like, we're talking shop here. We're talking. This is inside scoop. This is how, like, we'll talk about, like, all right, hey, wait, here's a great opportunity. We got to kind of look into this.
exactly. We may end up doing a follow-up, right? Like what happened after the conversation?
Right.
Like after the first 48, right? After Ken and Jack's conversation, what happened?
Now, with what I've seen, just firsthand over, it kind of stopped a little bit where, for a while, late 2022 to, throughout most of 2023, like all these layoffs. And I've noticed a lot of the people who were laid off were recruiters with DEI or HR, talent acquisition. So did that have an impact on you guys, or the needs are so great that, there's still a lot of recruiting to do?
Interesting enough, I probably think we've probably had in our history 3 DEI leadership searches.
Mm-hmm.
So those titles, that didn't impact us because we weren't really selling to them either. So we weren't receiving a lot of searches for those types. And then we weren't going to them to identify business opportunities either. So it didn't impact us, but a lot of those people are our friends. So that did impact us because one, we were so excited when the company started focusing in on DEI as a business imperative. And we were so excited for the opportunities that our friends and colleagues were receiving at great companies. So of course, after a year and a half, 2 years, to see some of those individuals either decide to leave or be kind of shown the door, that's been discouraging at some level, but they'll be okay. We'll keep driving, and everybody keeps waving the flag for diversity, equity, and inclusion.
So even with, people, HR, talent acquisition, DEI, there's still a big need to hire diversity talent across the board.
Sure. So and that's the thing that kind of keeps us, in the conversation. People still actively, I believe, want to have and see the value in diverse workplaces. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And we just choose to work with them over there. Other people will have to come around at their own pace, but we're going to keep standing up and supporting diverse talent and supporting talent in general, but with the hopes of giving people opportunities to grow in their careers.
And behind the scenes, like, how does this happen? Does a company say, hey, we're looking around and saying, hey, we really need to get, certain kind of people, certain kind of backgrounds. So, it's more of representing, the area, the community, whatever. Like, how do they come up with, like, how, who to hire, how many people to hire, when to hire? How does that work?
Some companies have specific missions and initiatives in place that they're trying to adhere to. But I'll share this though, Jack.
Yeah.
Look, we're recruiters, you and I, and a whole bunch of other people out here. Talent trumps all. We're just looking to identify the best talent in the space. Now, some of the recruitment pools that we use consist of diverse talent. So we're there trying to interview and trying to vet the best talent in the space. They're still going to have to walk in the door and show and prove that they're the person for the job. There's no gives. There's no gives here. People are still going to have to go interview, prove through their work histories and through their transferable skills that they're the right candidate. But we just want them to have the opportunity to do that. So a lot of big organizations and small organizations, they go to the same talent pools to recruit talent consistently. They show up at the same colleges and universities. They show up at the same professional organizations. We're just here to say, listen, we're probably knocking on some doors and swimming in some pools that traditionally you may not be familiar with or accustomed to.
So just to go back to a point you make, Ed, it's really interesting because I think a lot of people maybe have different judgments or feeling about it. So
Mhm.
that when you're looking to hire and introduce diversified talent, um, you're not giving in or saying, hey, this person is of a B or B minus, but we're going to take that person because they fit this quota they're looking for. So like if somebody doesn't meet the target, even though they're a diversity candidate, you're going to say, sorry, it's just not going to happen. Is that?
Not going to happen. We have to do it all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
we're adhering to position descriptions and specs and things of that nature. So we're identifying people typically that show up overqualified oftentimes
Yeah.
because we just believe that that's kind of the nature of the space. They're going to have to probably have some tough skin and probably a really sound skill set to be successful because they might not receive some of the nurturing and things of that nature that come with traditional candidates and traditional roles. But we just believe that everyone needs an opportunity. So and here's the thing, it's kind of like, remember when we used to talk about the hidden job market?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just that people didn't know the job existed or they weren't looking in those places or those organizations either. That's one of the most frustrating things for us. When people come to us, everybody wants to work for those companies you spoke about before, Google, Amazon, right?
Right.
And I'm like, hey, there's a great organization right here.
Yeah.
They're doing some amazing things. The salaries are exceptional. Why don't you consider them? So sometimes we're just introducing people to organizations and companies that maybe they weren't familiar with.
And again, just to go back a little bit, so when you're saying about, hey, they have, when you're looking to, get somebody aboard and hire somebody, they have to meet and exceed whatever, job description titles they want. But do you ever feel like people that you bring aboard sometimes wonder, hey, was I just hired because of my skin color or because of what have you? And then they're in the job and it's like, they feel awkward. And I figure this is a chance to be real. Like these are questions, let's
Yeah.
be frank, that people always think about, like what's really going on? I mean, does that happen too, where you get maybe
So
imposter syndrome?
yeah, well, I think imposter syndrome is real, right? But I
Yeah.
think we work with a lot of high achievers and people that
Right.
have had success and they've stepped up to bat
Yeah.
time and time again. So I think even if they're suffering from some imposter syndrome, they do have a confidence that if given the opportunity, an equal opportunity to perform, that they'll be fine. So, and so we might be catching people after what you're speaking about, like after they go through that, we
Exactly.
may catch
Yes.
them because
Yeah.
typically, we're working with
Yeah.
leaders and they're coming in and they've been through the gauntlet and they came out on the other side ready and driven.
Yeah. That's good to hear. And in addition to recruiting, you're doing a lot of other things too, right?
Yeah, we try to stay busy, but so it's always recruiting, right? Because we have to be in spaces to meet people
Right.
because the passive candidate is a real thing in any space, especially as people get higher up in their careers. I used to always share with my father. Uh, he was with M&M Mars for 27 plus years, right? Great talent, never even looked for another job after he got with Mars, in my opinion. Now, he may have something else to say about that, but I used to say, how would somebody find you?
Mm-hmm.
Because he was so comfortable in his role. So I think sometimes, we're just introducing people that their heads down and they're doing the work and they're excelling where they're at, and we're just saying, hey, you ever think about this? And then we open some eyes. So with that being said, we have to show up in a lot of places, and sometimes that showing up turns us on to other opportunities to add value. So that's some of the other stuff we do. It's just all about, one, positioning ourselves as the leader in this space that we're in the diversity recruitment space, but also having a community focus that allows us to give back. So that's kind of where you get the work with the National Urban League and the work with the New York Urban League and the work with the Philly Urban League and blkbox and TEDxHarlem. That's where some of that stuff comes in.
Well, can you talk about those? Because, I saw that on your bio and we were talking about, I don't know much about it. And I imagine a lot of people in the audience may not be that aware of it. I mean, how about we work backwards? Because TEDx, I think most people heard TEDx.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, are you what do you do with TEDxHarlem?
So I'm a TEDx speaker, right? So
Okay.
I actually did a TEDx Goldie Beacom called The Face of Workplace Diversity. It's interesting. I speak about the East End United Community Center in my TEDx, and that's where I'm at right now today. I'm in Uniontown, Pennsylvania at the East End United Community Center doing this. So this is a full circle moment for me. So thank you for being part of that.
That's awesome.
So I became, after I did my TEDx, I said, wow, I wonder if there's one of these in Harlem. And there had been, but it was 2012 and there was a 7-year hiatus. So 2018, I was able to speak to the people at TED and get the license to do TEDx events in Harlem. So we did a 2019 event. We had amazing speakers, thought leaders, ideas worth sharing, right? True to the TED format and platform. And that was great. And then the pandemic hit. So we didn't do a 2021. I'm sorry, we didn't do a 2020, but in 2021, we did TEDxHarlem Drivers Row. And then in 2022, we did a metaverse themed TEDx. And now we'll be back.
Wait, you did that in the metaverse?
No.
Oh,
But so
okay.
That was the plan, right?
Yeah.
We had Krista Kim. It sounds like you get excited about metaverse, so you may know.
No, you know what? I was playing around with that for a while when I thought this was going to kind of, we were trying to see if we could do interviews in the metaverse and what have you. And then Meta got involved, but then all of a sudden AI came and it just kind of
it quieted down, right? Yeah. So we had some great people, some thought leaders in that space, and it was very tech centric as well. But we didn't do it in the metaverse because there was too much of you had to get people to be virtually ready to receive it, and then get a spatial account or whatever it was that they would need to do to view in the metaverse. So we just decided to do it as a virtual event, but it was titled and themed around the metaverse. So that was amazing. And we'll be back in 2023, I believe late October, to do the second live TEDxHarlem, because we haven't done a live event in 3 years. So we'll be back to a live in-person format. And I just found out yesterday where that's going to be. So we'll be releasing that probably later on this week.
You want to give a sneak peek give a first sneak peek out?
Oh, I would love to share it here with you. I would love to share it here with you, but I can't because I didn't sign the paperwork yet.
All right, but it's in New York, I take it.
It is in New York. It's in Harlem.
Okay, all right, but it just depends where it will be.
Yes.
Apollo Theater, maybe.
I tried that at one time, but that was an interesting experience. It's very costly to do an event there.
Well, this is all right. I was going to be rude, right, and ask you. So you have the license. That means like you're a business guy running the whole event. Is that what it means?
It's a not-for-profit, opportunity with TEDx, right?
Okay.
You don't make money doing TEDx, but you do. I think the value is in you providing a platform for the people from your neighborhood to showcase their ideas, especially in Harlem. We have so many people that live in the village that are just amazing thought leaders in the spaces that they work in. And New York City in general is just a place that breeds unbelievable minds. So it's great to be able to showcase people like Ebony Carrington and people like Clayton Banks and Arva Rice and people like that on that platform, because it just shows how many people are literally your neighbors that are amazing and doing amazing work.
And so what will happen? Because you know what? I've seen individual TED Talks, but never like just watching back to back. So you would have somebody come on, like the individuals you mentioned, they'll give a talk, and then someone else will come up and give a talk. And is it one day? Is it a few days? Is it a week?
So it's a one-day event, and typically, I think the sweet spot for me, I don't like to have people there for 3-4 hours. So the sweet spot for me is about 8 to 12 speakers. because then you can do an intermission. So you can do, say, 5 speakers and then do an intermission. So you keep people there about 2.5 hours, because the talks, I think the talks typically should run between 8 and 12 minutes. So each person gets about that much time to share their idea or share their thoughts on, any topic they want. I don't censor my speakers because they're selected for a reason. They're selected because I believe and value what they have to share. So we kind of let people talk about topics that are close to their heart, but also topics that'll be of value to the community at large.
So what are some examples? Even, you probably, it's not, we're far away still to October, but not that far really, if you think about it.
Not that far.
Right?
No,
It's really not that far. I mean,
listen,
generally, what kind of topics do you think will come, in past ones, or that you would like to hear, like you would have?
That's a great question. So there's a couple different things going on. Of course, financial literacy, I think, is an extremely important conversation in the communities that we serve. There's also some food sustainability conversations that I think should take place, just regarding, more natural foods and nutrition and things of that nature. I think that's a good talk. Technology is always going to come to the fold, and we have some machine learning and AI conversations that will take place there through some of the speakers. Wow, what else? I've been speaking to people. Oh, of course, the arts, right? The arts are such a huge part of that community. So, funding is kind of drying up for some of the arts programs, especially in New York City and around the country, actually. So I think there's a really interesting conversation around not only receiving more funding, but people volunteering and offering their time to support some of the things that are going on with arts in the youth. I think there'll be some really interesting conversations that'll take place there. But I think tech, financial literacy, community, nutrition, and food, I think are 3 things that I believe will come across in this particular event as well.
That sounds great. That sounds great.
Yeah, you should come up. You should come.
Definitely.
You should.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you should definitely make it up as my guest.
I think you need a moderator, like
So,
I'll be the diversified person. I'll be the diversity guy, right? Like, I'll stand out. Because if you didn't notice, I'm white. Well, I'm looking at the camera. It's more pink today, a little red.
TEDxHarlem, we welcome all.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody's welcome. But you just have to live in Harlem.
I live in New Jersey, which is close.
Yeah, it's close. It's close.
I'll say he's not my brother-in-law. I don't know who he is. Lives in Harlem, so I could just use his address.
You can use his address. I'll take a blind eye to that. Yeah, you can use his address. We've had. So we did a really interesting conversation when we did TEDx Drivers Row. We had Sam Sia, and he's the founder and CEO of Biospace Harlem. And he does, of course, a ton of work with Columbia, but he's running a program that allows for kids from that community to take an early look at careers in biospace. Like, amazing work. People you never know are in the community doing some great things. So that's why I think it's just really important to open it up to everyone, but specifically the residents of Harlem, because most people don't even know that Harlem Biospace is a thing. And he's doing amazing, amazing work. Like, it's almost like a WeWork for the biospace community. It's crazy. Who knew?
That's amazing.
Yes.
Well, like, there's some VCs up there too, right? Like,
for sure.
There's some VC funds.
Harlem Capital, great, exactly. So yeah, we're having a ton of conversations, but really the conversations are designed, one, to showcase and amplify the voices of the residents there and the stakeholders, but also, I think there's a business imperative to everything that takes place. So if we can put these organizations in positions where eyes get on them and they find other opportunities through the platform of TEDx, then that's a great thing as well.
That's not the only thing you're working on, right? You got a bunch of other stuff in the works.
Yeah, we keep it rolling. We keep it coming.
What's that? Google? You're doing something with Google, right? Like a certificate you're working on?
Yeah. So we have through the BlackBox app.
What is that exactly? I saw that, but I'm not sure I know what that is.
So yeah, let's kind of unpackage it. So when prior to the pandemic, when Google had the Learning Center at 14th and 8th in Manhattan, I was the career instructor there. I was doing career-based classes on salary negotiation, electronic job search, and behavioral-based interviewing, right? So I was doing workshops there, and I started realizing that there was a select group of people missing from those conversations down at Google, and that population was Black men. They weren't coming through at all. So I started thinking of ways where I can add value and just maybe bring people and support people in that way. So we created an app called blkbox, BLKBOX. If you go to blkbox.tech, you'll receive download links. It's in Apple and it's in the Google Play stores as well. But blkbox, we brand it as a career consciousness app for Black men. So it's for anyone. There's great information. We've partnered through with Google to provide career certificates for anyone that comes into the blkbox app that has interest. Pretty much we can set them up where they can receive career programming and career IT certifications through Google. We partnered with Indeed to provide some content even in the app for general job search, right? Resume building, interview, things of that nature. Actually, we're going to do something. I'm doing something with Indeed in about a week through their Job Search Academy as well. But so we've used that to really position it as a resource tool. And we have a podcast associated with it where individuals can see like, hey, you know what? There's a Mark Anthony Dyson. Actually, Mark just did the podcast last week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So people can find out about him and what he's doing and read his articles and get content. We just thought, again, and it sticks to kind of where we set up with East Coast executives in general. We just want to be a place where people go to get information to advance their careers. And we thought that there was a huge miss in that particular demographic. And they were falling behind at a rapid pace as we venture into this new workspace with AI and technology and machine learning. We just like, listen, we can't miss this one. We have to be present. People have to be familiar. How can we add value and support that demographic and bringing them along to be part of this new revolution, this technology revolution that we're experiencing? So blkbox is the way that we've set out to do it and add our part.
So why do you think that Black men were falling behind and not keeping up with tech or getting involved with tech or in some other areas?
Yeah, consistently, I think we've found ourselves in roles that have been kind of dead-end positions, right? And even if they're not dead-end positions, they're very customer service oriented, which is fine. But I think we've been in some of the entry-level roles, and then we've struggled to find opportunities to grow and learn and receive even mentorship in those spaces. So you just stay there, right? And that has presented some problems with how we've been able to progress through the halls of corporate America, or lack thereof, right? So I don't have all the answers to why that happened. I think there's some systematic and some political stuff that clearly, if you just look at incarceration rates and everything, that it's a long conversation. However, what's the solution? How do we help? And blkbox is a way that we've decided to pitch in, and hopefully we can pull a few people along, and then they'll pull a few people along, and we'll make a difference.
You talked about financial literacy and some other things. Do you have any programs for people who are younger to start them out, to pivot off of what you were saying, from elementary school onwards, catch people when they're young?
Yeah, we don't personally, under the East Coast executives and blkbox umbrellas. However, as I mentioned, I'm here at the East End United Community Center today because it's just what I do, right? I try to find ways to give back. So I know there's a financial literacy component to some of the work they've done, really just trying to introduce youth. I was here a few months back with, he's my cousin. His name is Craig Ford, but he's the president of the National Healthcare Workers Association. So we just came in and did a quick workshop with kids. Those kids were probably from 7 to maybe 13, 14 years old, and just introducing them to exploring different careers, a career exploration piece. And we spoke about that, like, all right, let's bring somebody in to talk about financial literacy and get people at younger ages. Let's bring somebody in to talk about careers in healthcare. Let's bring somebody in to talk about, careers in tech. So we're working to do some of that. And that's the micro. We'd like to have a macro idea that maybe makes some sense under Black Box. But right now, the populations we deal with are a little more senior, and there's some great people doing amazing work with younger individuals. It's not us, but there are people out there doing it.
And there's only so much you can do, right? You got to you have X amount of time. So you do that. And then maybe other people find those other niches that need help and kind of focus on that.
And, it's also good to be a resource. Like once we partner through and we know about those places, then we send people there. Like you don't have to be the person that fixes everything, but if you can provide them with the information to say, hey, look, we don't do it, but they're doing some great work at the Harlem's Children's Zone, or they're doing great work over at, I don't know, First Corinthian, like wherever it is, if you can send them there and the programming's solid, then that's a plus, that's a win.
So where do you see this all going? Because like you have a lot of irons in the fire, the TEDx, you have the Black Box, you have the Google certificate, you have like let's say the coaching. So what is there going to be like this long-term game plan where you kind of put them all together? And like, do you have a bigger vision? And I don't mean to put you on the spot with it, but like any
no, I appreciate it.
Put it all together and take it to the next level.
Yeah, I think for us, it's important to not get away from the thing that we really enjoy doing, and that's the recruitment. That's the recruitment piece, like the talent acquisition thing, and the career stuff, right? I love being someone that, so you'll understand this as well because you've been doing this for a while. So when I started doing the career workshops, what made that possible was applicant tracking systems and LinkedIn. I had placed people in the early 2000s, and then they came back out into the workspace with the financial collapse. And they said, Ken, what in the world is LinkedIn? What's an applicant tracking system? But I had all of this information because I was working with some of the biggest companies in the world. And with that being said, I knew what they were. I knew how they could be impactful. I knew that Taleo at the time, like a lot of the resumes were getting pushed out because they weren't formatted correctly and things of that nature. So we just started doing workshops on getting people's paperwork and resumes through applicant tracking systems. Oh, and then branding became a big thing. So we started speaking to people about LinkedIn and how they can use LinkedIn as a professional branding tool. And with that, things just started rolling and we started doing the workshops. So really the big picture for us is how do we help as many people as possible achieve within their career space? We set out to do this in 2001 after Kenneth Chenault was named CEO of American Express. I was just reading Black Enterprise magazine, and I didn't know at the time, I was just reading the magazine. I didn't know that there had only been 3 Black men that were Fortune 500 CEOs in the history of the Fortune 500. And that was 2001. And I'm like, wow, that number's like, that's not even believable to me. And I started doing research. So I said, okay, I tell you what, we'll set out to be the company, the organization that helps change that number. So we'll just help people achieve in their careers and get them in opportunities to grow. And hopefully one day we'll be the person that placed the next CEO of such and such. So,
that's awesome.
so really just helping people is really the big picture thing for us, and helping them in their careers really is the line.
So you have a lot on your plate, Kenneth, right? For people who want to help out, I mean, are you open to folks who say, hey, like, I like your cause, I like what you're doing, I want to participate some way, some shape, some form? Do you do that?
I definitely do that. I'm doing that right now because you reached out, and this is, you're helping our cause by letting us be on your platform. So I appreciate that. But we're just always just interested in working with people, anybody. I think we need more of that right now in the spaces that we operate in. And people make it out to be a race conversation, but it's just about providing opportunities for people. And that's kind of where we want to sit, right? How do we help as many people as possible achieve in their careers? How do we help as many people as possible organizationally achieve their goals and aspirations? And the way we do that is just being really good at what we do at East Coast Executives.
That's fantastic. For people who would like to get in touch with you personally, or if people want to, who watch it now or watch it on the replays, want to just help out, because there are a lot of people who would love to teach someone how to go on LinkedIn and how to, brand yourself, or how to do an elevator pitch, or how to negotiate salary. Those sound easy in theory, but we both know it's hard to do, especially hard to do in the moment when you're doing it yourself. Let's say you don't have a recruiter, you're doing your own. Those are hard stuff to put, to do together. So could they reach out to you also directly and see if there are ways, to get involved?
100%.
Okay.
They can reach out, and it's interesting that you say this because, I host a show called the Digital Career Success Series for the National Urban League, 100-year-old civil rights organization. They do great work. I've been hosting the show for, I believe, 3 years now. But all we do is provide professional development content for individuals that are interested in salary negotiation, interviewing tips, and entrepreneur versus entrepreneur, the side hustle. So we do all of these conversations. We do them bi-weekly, but we do conversations just to help people, anybody that's interested in getting that information. So for me, if you're looking to kind of connect through and see if there's some synergies and we can explore ways to work together, you can visit the East Coast Executives website at eastcoastexecutives.com. That's a good place to find out what we have going on and to reach out to us directly. But I'm on the social media feeds, LinkedIn, I live there. That's how I know about Jack and all the great work he's doing. And We Recruiter and all of that. I want to talk to you about that platform as well.
See, I kind of did what you were talking about, where during the pandemic, I said hey, I could either be like, boo-hoo-hoo, this is terrible, or say, F it, I'm going to try to make something and do something better and help people. So we would have these, online meetups, and you could appreciate this, Kenneth. Like you have, on Zoom, you have everybody's in their little box, and everyone is feeling, as you can imagine, oh my God, this is just an awful time. And they're feeling miserable. But then when we start talking, giving advice, helping them out, being encouraged, you would just see this. It was amazing. You'd be like, oh, where they relax, because they're thinking, oh, it's just me. But then they look around and see these people all look pretty put together, and they're saying, all right, it's not me. And that alone made people feel better. Then they were more receptive to working on an elevator, because then they felt, hey, this is possible to turn it around. So, and dude, you could probably appreciate this too, Kenneth. I think a lot of people have misconceptions about recruiters, right? They think, oh, they're always bothering me when I don't want them. They're not around when we need them, whatever. But and I could tell just from talking to you, we get a lot of satisfaction when we help people. Yes, we get paid for it, but there's this inner satisfaction when you get someone that job who has more money, can maybe go to a better house or a better apartment or a better neighborhood, or have money for their retirement, for their kids. It's crazy. It's nourishing, right? It just gets you motivated to do it again and again and again, right?
It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling, even down. So one of our clients, and it's Tarte Cosmetics. So there was a young lady so they asked us to support them in their internship program, right, as well. And I was on a Zoom call, and we were recording the call, and I was speaking to a young lady, and I'm like, hey, I have an opportunity for you. And I told her it was with Tarte Cosmetics. And her reaction was so priceless that I had to kind of roll the footage back and record it, screenshot it. And I sent it to the talent acquisition team over at Tarte. And they were just so excited and happy that was her reaction to just getting an internship, right? So to your point, we're helping people, and we're helping people change their lives. And sometimes that feeling, I can still picture her face when I told her, and that's what I want again. Like I want that every time.
It's a high,
I'll
right?
keep searching that. Yes, yes.
It's like a high. It really is, because you're feeling like, wow, I made such a difference in someone's life.
Yeah. So hey, I know what I'm going to put it on out on your platform. Her name is Jasmine Renami. Our internship ended last week. She's looking for another opportunity. So if anybody wants to connect with a great talent, she goes to Columbia. She's amazing. Maybe we can line her up with something else.
Fantastic. So this is great. So once again, for everybody, how can they reach you? In terms of like, let's say an email too, in addition to, or whatever you find it easier.
No problem. Listen, eastcoastexecutives.com. I'm K Johnson at eastcoastexecutives.com. You can find us, even if you go to the website, you'll find the Instagram, you'll find the Twitter feed, you'll find all of that stuff there. But One Stop Shop is coming to LinkedIn and just tapping in, man. I accept invitations. I accept conversations. I'm just all about trying to find ways that we all can help one another. So I want to thank you for allowing me this opportunity to come on your platform. I think the world of you and the work you're doing as well. So with that being said, man, this has been an amazing conversation.
Well, thank you, Kenneth. And I'm definitely coming if I'm invited to TEDx.
You're invited. Listen, you're invited. As soon as the tickets are released, I'll get tickets out to you and come up to Harlem, man, and hang out with us.
I'm in, definitely, for sure. Excellent. Dude, thanks so much for coming on. This was great. I love the mission. I love what you guys are doing. That's fantastic. And all I can say is keep up the good work of people watching it. And if you want to help out, this is great. This is awesome. Improving lives, making a big difference.
That's what we do.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Kenneth. I'm so glad you're going to come on. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.